The ancient astronaut theory is considered by many to be pseudoscience. However, there is new evidence that the history of Machu Picchu may be much, much older than anyone has anticipated.
Perched dramatically atop a narrow ridge in the eastern Andes, Machu Picchu has long captivated the world with its breathtaking vistas, mysterious ruins, and staggering feats of engineering.
A few stones in the center of Machu Picchu are over 50 tons. And you look at these single stones and see how perfectly they're fit.
Built in the mid-15th century, under Emperor Pachacuti, this royal Inca estate was far more than a scenic citadel.
The city, known as Yucta in Quechua, the main language of the Incas, is believed to have been built during the reign of Pachacuti.
It was a carefully orchestrated marriage of architecture, agriculture, and environmental mastery. Central to its enduring stability are the terraces, stepped platforms that cling to impossibly steep slopes, channel rainwater with precision, and transform rocky mountainsides into fertile fields. Yet, in recent years, rumors are that a deliberately hidden engineering behind the Machu Picchu's terraces has finally been revealed. The Machu Picchu's terraces, perched at 2,430 meters above sea level on a ridge above the Urubamba River in Peru, Machu Picchu is not only an emblem of Inca civilization, but a masterclass in ancient engineering. And its terraces are at the very heart of this ingenuity.
Machu Picchu, it's up there with Stonehenge, with the pyramids of Giza. It's an incredible feat of engineering, of design, of imagination.
Constructed during the reign of Emperor Pachacuti in the mid-15th century, around 1450 CE, these terraces were more than agricultural plots. They were a deliberate intervention in a precarious landscape, designed to harmonize human activity with the formidable natural environment. The steep slopes of the eastern Andes, constantly threatened by landslides and erosion due to heavy rainfall and seismic activity, demanded solutions that combined practicality with durability. The terraces are built as multi-layered platforms, beginning with a base of large stones laid directly on the mountainside to provide stability and weight distribution. Above this, layers of gravel and sand function as drainage and filtration systems, ensuring that water does not accumulate and destabilize the structure.
The first layer was made up of stones covered in large waste fragments, and above that was a layer of gravel and sand.
Finally, the terraces are topped with a layer of fertile topsoil, creating productive agricultural land capable of sustaining crops like maize, potatoes, and quinoa.
At the height of the Inca Empire, corn, potatoes, and quinoa were grown here in terraced fields.
The very design of the terraces reflects the Incas' sophisticated understanding of geology, hydrology, and agriculture, allowing them to cultivate food on slopes. This land would otherwise have been considered unusable. The engineering sophistication of Machu Picchu's terraces extends beyond their multi-layered construction to an intricate system of water management. The region receives nearly 2,000 millimeters of rainfall annually, concentrated mostly during the wet season from November to March, making the control of surface and subsurface water critical for the settlement's survival. The terraces are interlaced with drainage channels that intercept and redirect water, preventing saturation of the soil and mitigating landslide risk. These channels, often concealed within the terrace walls or between platforms, direct water toward the natural contours of the mountainside or into the Urubamba River below, integrating seamlessly with the landscape. Retaining walls, composed of precisely cut stones fitted without mortar, a technique known as ashlar masonry, adds structural integrity while allowing for slight movement during seismic events. This precision demonstrates the Incas' mastery of dry stone construction, a method that combines durability with flexibility.
They studied the most precisely constructed section of the wall at its base, based on exact measurements, archaeological experiments, and knowledge of Inca construction methods.
Each terrace also subtly adapts to the slope of the mountain, stepping down in a way that maintains stability while minimizing soil erosion. Scholars, including Hiram Bingham, who famously brought Machu Picchu to international attention in 1911, and contemporary engineers like Jean-Pierre Protzen,
Hiram Bingham disagreed. He wasn't a trained archaeologist. He was a professor at Yale, but he believed very deeply.
have documented how the terraces embody both practical function and aesthetic harmony. Modern archaeological investigations, particularly geophysical surveys using ground-penetrating radar and electrical resistivity tomography, have revealed even more layers to the story of Machu Picchu's terraces. These non-invasive methods, employed in studies such as those reported in MDPY's Water Journal and research by the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, have identified buried terraces and soil layers beneath the visible structures. While some sensational claims suggest these findings point to pre-Inca civilizations or lost advanced engineering techniques, the evidence firmly supports continuity with Inca planning and adaptation. Subsurface layers reveal the careful preparation of the mountainside before terrace construction, including the removal of unstable material, grading, and placement of drainage foundations. This work indicates that the Incas conducted meticulous site surveys and adjusted their designs in response to microvariations in slope, soil composition, and water flow, rather than relying on mysterious or unknown technologies. Each terrace appears to be part of a phased development, evolving over time as the population, agricultural demands, and environmental conditions shifted. Scholars like Tom D'Altroy in The Incas emphasize that the terrace's apparent complexity reflects iterative improvement and empirical knowledge rather than inexplicable sophistication. The terrace's construction and engineering also offer insights into Inca resource management and ecological awareness. Large boulders for terrace foundations were quarried locally, sometimes transported uphill from the riverbed using human labor, ropes, and wooden rollers, demonstrating a logistical mastery matched to the challenging topography. Soil for the top layers was carefully selected from nutrient-rich locations and mixed to optimize fertility and drainage. This method of combining locally available materials with strategic engineering allowed the Incas to maintain long-term productivity without depleting resources or destabilizing the mountainside. Archaeologist John Hyslop, in his 1984 work, Inca Settlement Planning, notes that the terraces exemplify a deep understanding of landscape ecology, where human modification serves to enhance natural processes rather than disrupt them. Every stone, channel, and soil layer is part of a deliberate system, integrating agriculture, water management, and slope stabilization into a coherent whole, demonstrating a remarkable foresight and adaptability that allowed Machu Picchu to endure for centuries. Beyond practical function, the terraces of Machu Picchu also reflect cultural and ceremonial significance. The Incas viewed the land as sacred, a living entity imbued with spirit, and the terraces served as a medium through which humans could work with the earth rather than dominate it. Their stepped geometry echoes Andean cosmology, with hierarchical layers possibly mirroring social and spiritual order, while also responding to environmental constraints. The combination of utility and symbolism reinforces the idea that Inca engineering was not merely a technical endeavor, but a holistic practice, where agricultural production, structural stability, and cultural expression were inseparable. Contemporary analyses by scholars such as Maria Rostworowski and Carmen Bernan emphasize that Machu Picchu's terraces are an enduring example of how ancient civilizations achieved balance between human ambition and environmental stewardship, blending empirical knowledge with ritual and cultural insight. Naturally, it has also inspired many ideas and speculation. Speculative theories and popular claims. Among the most persistent theories is the idea that the terraces predate the Inca themselves, suggesting a lost civilization whose engineering surpassed what is known from historical records. This line of speculation has been fueled by observations of the terraces' precision, the stability of their steep slopes, and the subtle sophistication of their drainage systems, which some enthusiasts argue could not have been achieved by 15th century builders with rudimentary tools. Various popular sources, including online videos such as the 2025 Flash Discovery release, claim that ground-penetrating radar reveals older terraces beneath the visible ones, implying centuries of unknown construction before Pachacuti's reign. Proponents of this idea often point to the difficulty of moving massive stones uphill, the tight fitting of the masonry without mortar, and the durability of the terraces in one of the wettest regions of the Andes. These observations are frequently framed as evidence of an advanced civilization erased from history. Linked closely to these claims are assertions regarding the extraordinary drainage systems of Machu Picchu's terraces, which some enthusiasts describe as outperforming contemporary civil engineering. The basis for this claim lies in the terrace's multi-layered construction, consisting of a stone base, gravel and sand filtration layers, and topsoil that together manage water efficiently. The suggestion is that modern engineers would struggle to replicate the system, and some have even invoked artificial intelligence analyses to identify 47 distinct building techniques, allegedly unique in history. The third strand of speculation centers on the supposed impossible precision of Machu Picchu's stonework and terrace construction. Enthusiasts frequently argue that the fine fitting of stones, some weighing multiple tons, could not have been achieved with the Incas' simple tools, wooden levers, stone hammers, and chisels made of harder stones. They claim that the level of precision implies a vanished advanced civilization with knowledge of engineering lost to history. Proponents often point to the polished surfaces, the interlocking joints of the stones, and the terrace's ability to survive centuries of seismic activity as evidence that conventional explanations are insufficient. These speculative theories, while compelling for the imagination, often rest on a misunderstanding of Inca methods, environmental adaptation, and historical continuity. Radiocarbon dating, stratigraphic analysis, and material studies consistently place terrace construction firmly in the mid-15th century, during the reign of Pachacuti. Another aspect that fuels speculation is the dramatic setting of Machu Picchu itself. The terraces cling to a narrow ridge above the Urubamba River, surrounded by steep peaks and frequent cloud cover, creating a sense of mystery and isolation. This geography amplifies perceptions of impossibility, especially when popular media highlights the difficulty of transporting massive stones uphill or leveling terraces on slopes exceeding 60 degrees. Yet detailed studies, including those by Rostworowski and Hislop, demonstrate that the Incas used simple but effective tools, wooden levers, ropes, and human coordination, and took advantage of gravity, friction, and careful planning to manipulate stones. Large-scale projects relied on coordinated labor rather than advanced machinery. What appears miraculous in isolation, the sheer stability of terraces or the flawless fit of a stone, is entirely plausible within the context of Inca communal construction practices and centuries of accumulated empirical knowledge. Finally, these popular claims often conflate innovation with impossibility. The Inca were masters of adaptive engineering, responding to rainfall, earthquakes, and steep terrain with pragmatic solutions that prioritized sustainability. Their terraces demonstrate not only technical ingenuity, but ecological intelligence, integrating hydrology, soil science, and agricultural productivity into a single cohesive system. The allure of lost civilizations and impossible precision stems from underestimating the cumulative knowledge, observation, and experimentation that the Inca applied systematically. Sensational narratives may describe vanished knowledge or unknown technologies, but rigorous archaeological evidence repeatedly confirms that the terraces, drainage systems, and masonry were all within the capabilities of Inca engineering. The dramatic tension arises from human fascination with what seems impossible. Yet, the true marvel lies in the Inca's ability to achieve such enduring stability, efficiency, and beauty using tools, materials, and methods entirely accessible to them in the mid-15th century. The persistent allure of speculation speaks to the terraces' enduring mystery and visual drama, but the true story is both dramatic and verifiable. Let's look at the heights of human ingenuity within a historical context. Debunking and context for speculations. Despite all the speculation, Machu Picchu's terraces are firmly anchored in the historical and archaeological record, and careful examination debunks claims of pre-Inca construction and lost civilizations. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials embedded within terrace soils consistently places their construction in the mid-15th century under Emperor Pachacuti's reign, roughly between 1440 and 1460 CE. Emperor Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui was not a minor local ruler, but the transformational architect of the Inca Empire itself, widely credited by historians such as John H. Rowe and Maria Rostvorovsky as the ninth Sapa Inca, and the figure who turned a small highland kingdom centered around Cusco into Tawantinsuyu, the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. His reign marked a decisive shift from regional power to imperial dominance, achieved through military conquest, political reorganization, and an unprecedented program of state-sponsored construction. Radiocarbon dates published in archaeological studies by Richard Berger and Lucy Salazar, alongside soil analyses conducted by Kenneth Wright and Alfredo Valencia Zegara, align tightly with this expansionist phase, leaving little doubt that the terraces were conceived as part of Pachacuti's imperial vision, rather than inherited from a lost or unknown civilization. The world Pachacuti ruled was one of profound transition and instability, both locally and globally. In the Andes, rival polities such as the Chanca Confederation posed existential threats to Cusco, and Pachacuti's rise itself followed a dramatic military victory against them around 1438 CE. Beyond South America, Europe was emerging from the late Middle Ages. The Ottoman Empire had captured Constantinople in 1453, and Ming China was consolidating power after withdrawing from its great maritime expeditions. None of these worlds were connected, yet all were grappling with questions of statecraft, legitimacy, and control over land and resources. In the Andes, where written language did not exist in alphabetic form, authority was expressed through stone, landscape modification, and ritualized labor. Monumental architecture was not decorative, it was political language. Machu Picchu, perched between the sacred peaks of Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu above the Urubamba River, was carved into the mountainside at a moment when Pachacuti was redefining what an empire looked like in stone. Pachacuti's decision to build Machu Picchu and its terraces was driven by several overlapping motives: political symbolism, environmental necessity, and cosmological belief. Archaeologists widely interpret the site as a royal estate, ceremonial retreat, and possibly a pilgrimage center tied to Inca origin myths and solar worship. The terraces were essential to all three functions. Agriculturally, they allowed maize and tubers to be grown at elevations and slopes that would otherwise erode or collapse under heavy rainfall, which averages nearly 2,000 millimeters annually in the region. Structurally, they stabilized the mountain itself, anchoring the site against landslides in one of the most geologically active zones of the Andes. Spiritually, reshaping the mountain was an act of harmony with the Apus, or sacred mountain spirits. Pachacuti was known for institutionalizing this ideology, famously rebuilding Cusco in the shape of a puma and standardizing imperial architecture to project order over chaos. The terraces were not experiments or inexplicable anomalies. They were the logical outcome of a ruler who governed without metal tools, draft animals, or wheeled transport, yet commanded vast human labor through the mightiest system and possessed generations of accumulated ecological knowledge. The Inca understood soil behavior, water flow, and seismic risk through observation and repetition, refining their techniques across hundreds of sites long before Machu Picchu was conceived.
The mysterious city of Machu Picchu is no longer occupied. It's been empty for nearly half a millennium.
What modern engineers admire today reflects an empire operating at the peak of its organizational and intellectual power. Studies led by archaeologists such as John Hyslop and Tom D'Altroy, along with more recent work employing stratigraphic and soil analyses by the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, confirm that these terraces were part of a coherent Inca plan, developed incrementally over decades to stabilize steep mountainsides, support intensive agriculture, and integrate seamlessly with urban structures. There is no credible peer-reviewed evidence supporting claims that the terraces predate the Inca, and underlying terrace layers revealed through ground-penetrating radar correspond to early construction phases or soil preparation rather than evidence of unknown civilizations. The suggestion that these terraces emerged from a lost culture lacks archaeological validation. The material, construction methods, and spatial organization align consistently with known Inca practices documented in sites across Cusco, Ollantaytambo, and Pisac. The notion of pre-Inca origins, therefore, is a misinterpretation of phased construction and landscape adaptation. The engineering of Machu Picchu's Amitu terraces is sophisticated, yet entirely achievable using techniques available to the Inca. Multi-layered construction, consisting of a stone foundation, gravel and sand filtration layers, and fertile topsoil, provides both stability and agricultural productivity. This design reflects a deep empirical understanding of local geology, hydrology, and soil mechanics. Stones for the terraces were quarried locally or transported short distances, shaped with hammerstones and chisels, and fitted through repeated trial and error to create interlocking walls capable of withstanding seismic activity and heavy rainfall. Contrary to claims suggesting the discovery of 47 distinct building techniques, there is no evidence for such enumerated innovations in any archaeological journal. What observers interpret as multiple techniques are, in fact, variations of basic engineering principles applied adaptively across different terraces: slope adjustment, drainage alignment, soil compaction, and stone fitting. Drainage, which is often cited in sensational accounts as evidence of impossibly advanced engineering, also aligns with known Inca practices. Machu Picchu receives nearly 2,000 millimeters of rainfall annually, concentrated during the wet season from November through March, and terraces were designed to manage this immense water load without soil saturation or structural collapse. Channels hidden within terrace walls and subtle inclines direct water to the mountainside or into rivers below. Modern engineers study these systems to gain insight into sustainable water management in mountainous terrain, but this admiration should not be confused with proof of lost civilizations. The drainage is the result of centuries of empirical testing, observation, and adjustment, rather than an anachronistic technology beyond 15th century capability. Research by Jean-Pierre Protzen, as documented in Inca architecture and construction at Ollantaytambo, highlights that terraces and drainage were integrated holistically, balancing hydrology with agriculture, soil stability, and seismic adaptation. The supposed impossible precision of Inca stonework is another area where speculation diverges from evidence. Stones were carefully shaped and abraded to fit together without mortar, a method known as ashlar masonry. Misconceptions arise when modern observers underestimate the cumulative skill and repetition required. Each stone was manipulated using hammerstones, chisels, and abrasive sand, relying on intimate knowledge of granite properties, incremental shaping, and continual refinement until it interlocked perfectly with neighboring stones. Precision came from human labor, observation, and oral transmission of expertise across generations, not from lost or advanced technologies. The terraces, in combination with retaining walls and drainage layers, demonstrate a practical integration of skill and empirical knowledge. As Tom D'Altroy notes in The Incas, what seems miraculous to casual observers is the product of systematic problem-solving, labor coordination, and adaptation to environmental constraints, rather than inexplicable mastery. Machu Picchu's terraces also reflect an advanced empirical engineering approach, integrating soil science, hydrology, and seismic adaptation. The careful layering of materials manages soil saturation and erosion, while the stepwise construction of terraces stabilizes slopes vulnerable to landslides. The terrace's design accounts for both natural and climatic variability, showing the Incas' ability to anticipate and mitigate risks. While media representations often exaggerate these features as impossible or beyond comprehension, the reality is that they result from applied knowledge, iterative experimentation, and ecological intelligence. Machu Picchu's terraces reflect sophisticated empirical engineering rooted in observation, experimentation, and environmental adaptation rather than mystery.
Machu Picchu is the most impressive living testimony of Inca civilization.
Their multi-layered construction, precise masonry, and effective drainage demonstrate a deep Inca understanding of Andean geology and climate. Radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy, soil analysis, and geophysical surveys confirm 15th century construction under the Inca, with no credible proof of pre-Inca or lost civilizations. Popular myths often arise from exaggeration or misunderstanding of Inca methods. The terraces exemplify how cumulative knowledge, communal labor, and adaptive design enabled remarkable engineering achievements within limited technological means. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.